We're here today to talk to you about the journey we've been on to engage a youth audience, hopefully with impact in Leicestershire and within our policing communities. We know that not everyone is in an area of business where they're going to be dealing with a youth audience, but we hope that we can present stuff today that's going to be useful to take away. We're going to show you how we've used data and insight to create a strategy, and we're going to explain what we're kind of doing moving forward to continuously develop our strategy and working with partners.
So a little bit about our journey. Well, we have been on a bit of a journey recently in terms of how we reach and support our young people with police communications. So for the next 20 minutes or so, we're going to take you through the following. Why we've adopted a different approach, including how we've understood our audience, their barriers, and learned from other areas of business. What we've been doing about it? Well, we've been working with partners, investing budgets, running hyper-targeted campaigns, and developing new and existing material. The practical results gained from some of our campaigns in the last 12 months and our adapted ways of working. And what we intend to do next, having built on that learning to further develop our campaigns and resource material.
So, why did we need a different approach? We're a small team and we've been working with our partners to develop an approach to reach younger people better. Why? Well, we know from our data that serious violent crime heavily affects this group. A closer look at it told us that those aged 15 to 19 are most at risk of committing serious violence, with males more likely to be affected than females. It's about engaging a hard-to-reach audience, and those of you in the room with experience of teenagers will know just how tricky this audience group can be. So we knew that if we had to take a look at our own channels, learn from our previous work and drop our bias, we were going to have to make a positive change.
I just want to run a quick exercise in the room. What do we think about when we look at this word on the screen? Go ahead. Anyone shout out something?
Feeling relaxed.
Feeling relaxed, yeah, calm, relaxed, not showing nervousness. You'd be right. But in the youth space, they use it a little bit differently. It means things like it's cool, and that's all right. An example by Urban Dictionary might be, just copped a pair of Yeezys, that's calm. I think it's easy as producers of campaigns to think that we know how to get a message across, but we found it's always worth looking at the audience objectively. So how were we reaching our audience? Well, the truth is, under 25s make up just 8.6% on Facebook and only 11% on Instagram. That's actually a decreasing figure from the last 18 months. Now, our digital team do a fantastic job in engaging our communities, but our organic material for this audience just isn't as effective. And that's because of namely things out of our control. They're turned off by the badge for fear that we can track them. They don't want to use the platforms that we're focusing on. We're focusing on Facebook and LinkedIn, whereas they're on Snapchat and TikTok. And sometimes we don't have a choice but to sound like an organisation. It's not necessarily just an issue for Leicestershire Police. We know most in the room today can probably relate to this by having that one audience group that you feel is near enough impossible to capture. So instead, we focused on a digital interaction because we knew it was going to be beneficial with this tricky target audience. We've helped overcome some of these struggles by working with our partners to access budgets that aren't necessarily our own, research the audience further, and run targeted comms. At Leicestershire Police, we have a great working relationship with our partner, the Violence Reduction Network. And the VRN have a focus on tackling serious violence in public places using a public health approach. And they have a priority for working with under 25s. So you could say campaigning together kind of made sense. The VRN utilise a public health approach with emphasis on the whole system. So they invest in the use of data and research to focus on that prevention work and early intervention in that space. So we adopted this approach into our communications, working alongside their analysts to understand the bigger picture happening in Leicestershire. Shared learning and understanding about this group has led us and forced us, in a good way, to adapt how we work together to reach and engage with this audience. In sub-subject areas, enforcement-heavy messaging has led our communications, and the partnership with the BRN illuminated the need to change that.
So we started with our anti-knife crime campaign. Previous force campaign material relied heavily on shock tactics and emphasis on enforcement messaging, but new research and our own findings suggested this focus does not have the desired impact on young people. So through shared learning with the partnership, we discovered that many people do carry out of fear and have a feeling of despondency towards attitude to knife crime. They disengage with badge material. Positive social norms are more of a driver than highlighting risks, and there's been a notable shift in the space that needs to be more positive and offer messages of hope.
So, working alongside a design agency, we challenged ourselves to think differently, researching youth culture and using the information about our audience that we had to understand our barriers. We had to take a step back and forget we were a police force for a minute. If Stormzy and Nike were going to make an anti-knife crime campaign, what would it look like? And We Don't Carry was born. We focused on authentic language, key messages, unbranded material, an emphasis on being part of a positive collective. And we're aware that singling individuals out actually isolates them. Showing knives can actually perpetuate carrying instead of preventing it. And as part of the campaign suite, we have a radio advert, so let's take a listen.
We can do anything. Nah, for real, we can. We can change lives. We can shape minds. And just by discarding our knives, we can make our community a better place to live in.
We can protect those around us, not by carrying knives, but by convincing those we care about that carrying a weapon isn't going to keep anyone safe, but will put others in danger.
If you carry a knife, you're more likely to get hurt. And your mates, they are too. Lives, not knives. We don't carry.
For more info, search livesafe.org.uk.
So we produced a series of key visuals and supporting material that had a balance of messages throughout. We included positive outcomes, myth-busting enforcement and fact-sharing, and we've rolled these out across social media with geo-targeted advertising in our hotspot policing areas. And we've supported that campaign branding with an educational offer that's been delivered to over 30,000 pupils. That digital radio advert that we just heard has been broadcast to over 100,000 people in targeted areas of Leicestershire and received a 97% engagement rate. That tells us that we pitched a message to the right audience in the right location. But for us, it was really about creating something that our officers supported and felt confident in sharing, providing them with the tools to have engaging conversations during OPSEPTA, which for those who aren't police colleagues is our National Anti-Knife Crime Awareness Week. We've formulated a routine system of having local police areas engage with the campaign both offline and online, and we use operational budget to ramp up our digital advertising, which delivers adverts to the target audience of young males aged 13 to 25 on Snapchat through what's known as a ghost account, so it doesn't look like it's from the police. And the results. Well, the campaign continues to provide strong results since its launch in 2021. We've now run the campaign material during 4 operation sectors, and it still feels as fresh and relevant from the first year that it launched. These are just the highlights taken from the previous 2 instalments. And we owe a lot of that organic success to Orlo, actually. The tool of having a shared folder of the campaign assets to live in on the user-friendly homepage has allowed officers to share content from just a couple of clicks, something that we've relied once heavily on internal articles for and email toolkits, which for our frontline officers, it just isn't practical. These snippets that we see here are just a handful of the 200 plus social posts shared by our 4 Orlo users and partners in the last stop sector. And as you can see, the campaign material is widely supported by all.
So it's been important for us to consider the supporting wraparound tools which our policing campaigns provide. Following the launch of We Don't Carry and Make a Stand Against Violence, we identified a bit of a comms gap. Where we're actually taking young people to for more information, for helpful resources and for advice, was that our police website really suitable? So along came Live Safe, funded and owned through the VRN, but supported and designed by us. It's an unbadged, judgment-free resource website which offers guidance around sticky subject matters for both young people, parents and carers.
Yeah, and Live Safe was created with the interests of young people, so it's effectively its own brand and has a singular tone of voice and strategy behind it. It consists of a supporting project team with us in campaigns and members of the VRM, and together we concentrate on developing the information of advice to keep it current, balanced, with ongoing website promotion activity. It's offered as a better place to direct young people and strengthen our call to action. And we've worked with partners to build the sustainable resource for future communications and wider support. And it also has a series of social channels attached to it so we can use it for directed more comms. The website and social material recently had a big launch and massive promotional campaign since its formation, with over 2 million impressions and engagements from over 28,000 young people aged 25 and under. It's another fantastic indication of partnership working at its best.
Obviously, it's great to keep looking forward, and the emergence of our newly created material is strong. But as part of our learning, we've been thinking about how platforms such as LiveSafe can actually benefit pre-existing campaigns. And one of those is the Force's Are You Listening campaign. Are You Listening is a film about 4 young people who are being exploited. Although all of its characters are fictional, they represent real experiences. It's important to understand that young people who are caught up in this type of activity often don't see themselves as victims, because those who are exploiting them make them feel important, respected and looked after. Now we're going to play you the master campaign video from the 2020 campaign.
Let's take a watch.
They'll sort themselves out, you know. Your mum and dad. Where are you off to, love?
I'm holding drugs for a bloke out there. I've already been out to his car 4 times tonight.
Why is that then?
I'm helping him move crack round the village now. He says I've got no choice now.
Are you listening?
That's nice, love.
Criminals are using children across the UK.
Missed you last week, Danny.
Any child can be exploited
Nice boots. They new?
and forced into carrying out crimes.
Said about 200 quid of weed a week. Just to keep people off my back.
Right, you're up front with Ash today, yeah?
They don't always see themselves as victims.
Bit late to be chatting, isn't it, love?
And won't always act like victims.
Darren said he might need the gun back. He's freaking out.
Right. Shall I leave the nightlight on? Keep the monsters away?
It's okay. I'll use it if I have to.
Not like you to be late, Alex.
I'm missing 3 drop-offs right now, miss. That's £200 they're gonna want back. Which I haven't got!
Better get to your lesson.
Look out for changes in behaviour. Increased messages and calls. Or new belongings you don't recognise. It's up to everyone to know the signs and to really listen before it's too late.
Alex?
Are you listening?
Well, we hope you enjoyed our film if you've not seen it before. It's had a huge success over the last 3 years, but earlier this year we realised that it lacked some wraparound content and some of the reporting tools seen in the other offering to young people. So we used the learning and refreshed the campaign page on our Force website to give it its own brand style. This followed nicely into creating a brand new suite of social media assets, supporting us better for intensification weeks and heightened social campaign periods. With the rise of our partnership work, we had to look for ways in which we could elaborate on signposting. For parents and carers watching the Are You Listening film, it made sense to keep this piece focused, but we also have an area on Live Safe that mirrored the advice. However, if we're going to broaden the target audience, Live Safe was the perfect opportunity to blend the two campaigns together. So we also created a radio advert, which we'll listen to now.
I got given this wicked new phone.
He's always on that thing.
Just texting my new mates.
Talks to them more than us these days.
They ask me to do things.
Sometimes he's out till all hours.
I'm not supposed to talk about it.
Comes home with money and gifts from them, whoever they are.
They're kind of scary.
I ask, but he gets angry.
New friends, new behaviours, and new possessions could be signs of child criminal exploitation. If you're worried, get help at livesafe.org.uk.
So the radio advert has been listened to by 135,000 people aged 15 plus in Leicestershire. It was played 61 times over a 3-week period and pitched during the school run in the morning. So this tells us we successfully incorporated our learning from We Don't Carry to fit into this subject matter. The average opportunity for each person to hear the radio ad was 4.4 times, providing a total impact of 600,000. Here are some of the results seen in the latest County Lines Intensification Week, where we ran the content and launched the radio ad through Global Radio. Through more defined research and speaking with subject matter experts within our force, we found the audience demographic had changed considerably, so we aimed the rebranded material to fit in accordingly. These are some performance highlights from the campaign window, which ran between February and March this year.
So, just to recap, why a different approach? Well, we wanted to engage with the youth audience better and learn to understand our barriers. What did we do about it? Well, we worked with partners, we invested budget, we built trusted relationships and developed new material. The results. We achieved genuine, engaged results from our desired audience. We tried new platforms and we continue to facilitate this during key policing weeks. And we built on that learning to further develop the Live Safe website with new topic areas, carrying out more research to create a child criminal exploitation creative for young people coming up in the summer, and making working with policing partners work for Leicestershire Police. Thank you.
Thanks so much both, some brilliant work, well done on that. Think of your questions, if you've got questions for our colleagues. So I suppose just want to get us up and running. Tone of voice, I'm just interested how you kind of use that, how you've developed that. Clearly there's a very specific tone of voice for the campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
Did the radio ad and things like that inform the kind of tone of voice that you've used on social media? And how did all of that work?
Sort of worked the other way round.
Yeah.
So it did, didn't it? So the tone of voice, we created a specific document for Live Safe because that was where all of our copy was. But then it was also influenced through the We Don't Carry messaging and social media messaging creation. And then that inevitably then inspired the radio ad sort of tone. Yeah.
Brilliant. Great work.
Cool.
So question at the back, Phil?
Sorry, I was just wondering whether you saw a sort of shift in the commentary that you got on your social posts from your normal social posts, because you're obviously engaging perhaps a different audience, and how did you deal with that? How did you manage that as well?
Yeah, good question. So I would say the the narrative from the general public has probably shifted slightly, and the non-target audience group in policing comes, because the thing is that we don't carry isn't seen by anyone in this room. It's seen by the target audience group. So sometimes we have to sort of explain the way that our comms has changed, and the engagement is a reflection of that, both offline and online, to say that, you know, there is content for young people. You just don't see it because you're not in the catchment area, you're not in the age group, and you're not the right gender.
I think what we found with the Are You Listening comms that went out externally was people use that as a signposting method as well. So rather than commenting particularly saying, oh, we like this, it would simply be someone tagging someone else saying, have you seen this? This is relevant to you, for your school, for your child, for someone that you care for. So it was kind of used as a way to spread the word.
Yeah, question for, first of all, just a massive well done. I think that both the campaigns are so powerful, but also what you learned from the first campaign to take into the second one. For me, obviously, with you guys being in policing, it is non-competitive. So how often do you get to kind of share your best practice with other forces, and do you take learnings from them, etc. as well?
Yeah, we do. So a couple of forces, I don't know them off the top of my head, but a couple of forces have actually used the We Don't Carry campaign.
Yeah.
Because it's unbranded, it gives us the opportunity for people to invest in it. So the campaign material is there, and that's not necessarily just for policing partners. That can be for, you know, any public sector comms that want to address this issue, whether it's in a targeted business way where they attribute spend to it, or they just share it organically on their socials through retweets and just general content, basically.
Yeah, we know we go to AppCom as well twice a year, which I know a lot of you guys do as well. And the last 3 or 4, I think we've had a space there to talk about best practice and ways we've handled with unprecedented events. So we do campaign, and obviously how policing works in the public domain.
Yes.
Do you or did you hold any focus groups with young people? I know, I guess this is quite an interesting topic. Not sure if you're going to go out and find the people who are carrying knives to come into have conversations. And sort of how did that go? How did you go about that? And
So because it's a sort of project within its own right, we onboarded an agency. So these creative design agencies and the producers of Live Safe will do an element of research and data and insight, and part of that was interviews with people. Some did have a history of criminal behaviour before. Lived experiences were from the local communities that we wanted the campaign to represent. So we've really worked super closely with those young people to ensure that the branding fits and the message feels right and authentic.
But I think to add on to that as well is that it's really important to do your research at the start of every campaign, because just talking about kind of focus groups, with the knife crime, the foot in the mortuary and the gravestone, that was really targeted. We went into schools, we spoke to young people, and 3 years ago, that's what they wanted. But now they don't want it, so that's why you have to be hyper vigilant before every time you launch to make sure that it's still the right message, because we can't assume anything to do with the language, to do with the message, because we're not that demographic, so we do need to drill down into that finer detail.
Yes.
Yeah, just thinking about removing the police branding from some of the sort of content seems like a really good idea, but just wondering, when you then reference on using Orlo to share the assets out to sort of the local teams, how did you find that worked in terms of then response and the community engagement? Would that contaminate back into the police brand at all? Or?
No, not really. We haven't had many challenges. The main challenge for us has been the partners who have paid for it have wanted their logo so that it's seen, you know, a bit of credibility and they can take ownership. I'd say that's the only barrier with the logo. In terms of localising the message and sharing it through Orlo, no issues at all. Our officers fully understand the way in which we're changing things, and that's both seen offline and online.
terms of your sort of senior stakeholders in policing now, Leicester Police, have you now got, do you think, has this given you permission to run other campaigns like this? Because obviously knife crime is a massive issue, but other issues as well. So why are you going to run more similar campaigns in this vein? Is this going to become a sort of model for future campaigns?
Yeah, I think so. It's created a framework of opening and unlocking budgets that aren't our own, and we now have that trust and confidence internally with our stakeholders, whether they're, you know, mid-senior or all the way up to chief exec, that they understand that we can do this work. We can go and get a message or a campaign that fits accordingly and performs really strongly. So yeah, it's these campaigns have sort of lifted the lid on a framework, and now we can apply that to different subject matter areas. We've got an upcoming serious violence campaign over the summer related to one-punch deaths happening in the nighttime economy. We've got a drugs and custody campaign. Each have their own budget, and each are outsourced from design agencies or behaviour change agencies. I don't think we would have been able to do that had we have not started with this.
We have a discovery session coming up in June to rebrand our hate crime offering as well, and that will be with partners, that will be with victims, that will be people involved. So I think, like Ella said, it's lifted the lid on really kind of it not just being the police getting a message out there. It's a completely collaborative message, and we have a real understanding from everyone's perspective, which then makes our message much more authentic, and people are going to latch onto it a lot more.